Today, we are thrilled to have you all for our insightful and stimulating debate. Before we dive into the debate, let me introduce our debaters. In one corner, we have Richie Franco, Alexa Contreras, and Mark Chan, representing the negative side of the motion. And on the other corner, we have Brian Ruedas, Jamie Alianza, and Josiah Santiago, advocating for the affirmative side. We look forward to hearing their insights and counterpointers. As for the rules of the debate, the rules are simple.
Each side will be given time to present their argument and the opposing side to respond, followed by a round of rebuttals. Both sides will have their time to rebut the other side's point for 3 minutes, and the opponents will have the opportunity to question their argument and present their counter-argument. Debaters should not interrupt each other during speeches. Personal attacks, foul language, or insults will be prohibited. Debaters must adhere to the time limits. Following these rules, debate remains focused and respectful dialogue.
Without further ado, let the debate begin. To open the case about the genetically modified organisms, I call upon Ryan Ruedas of the affirmative side. You have 1 minute to present your views. Go ahead.
Good day, everyone. We are the affirmative side, and today we are here to discuss what GMO and what the widespread adoption of GMO can mean for our country. First off, what is GMO? GMO stands for genetically modified organisms, in which plants and animals are being modified in their genes to suit our needs more. So, how does this help us? It makes our crops way more resilient towards storms and typhoons, also makes our harvest time way shorter than normal. That is all. Thank you.
As for the negative side, I call upon Mark Chan. You will also have 1 minute to present your case. Begin.
Greetings to our audience. The opposing team may have you believe that genetically modified organisms are safe to integrate into our society. But my team and I are of the opinion that GMOs need more time to be refined, examined, and developed before we incorporate them into our world. By the end of this debate, my team and I will have made the points that will help you understand or maybe even support our side. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for the question and answer section of our debate, each team will be given 30 seconds to respond to key arguments. Then the same question will be answered by the other team within 30 seconds. For the first question, are genetically modified foods safe for our health? Mr. Rojas.
Yes, GMOs are already proven to be safe and edible for human bodies, as proven by the World Health Organization, and as it is also being already used in multiple countries worldwide and have been approved by their health agencies and Food and Drug Administrations. That is all. Thank you.
Mr. Chan.
While yes, genetically modified food do not exhibit immediate problems, that doesn't mean they will not come up later. If you rush progress for the purpose of helping our people, for the rushing progress to feed the needy, it could come up later that they contract diseases that come from genetic modification. Thank you.
Moving on to the next question. Can genetically modified crops coexist with natural ecosystems, or do they lead to environmental harm by impacting non-GMO crops and wildlife? Mr. Ferris.
Genetically modified crops struggle to coexist with natural ecosystems as they can cause environmental harm. Cross-pollination between GMOs and non-GMO crops can contaminate natural varieties, threatening biodiversity. Additionally, GMOs often require heavy herbicide use, which harms soil health, water sources, and wildlife, including essential pollinators like bees and butterflies.
Time's up. Thank you. Affirmative side, Mr. Chancellor.
GMO products can coexist in the ecosystem with other crops because they will help to make it better because of uh, cross pollination, which they will inherit the pesticides of the GMO products. And
Moving forward to the third question. Are GMOs the solution to global health insecurity and help to solve hunger and food shortages? Mr. Santoyan?
In the Philippines alone, no, GMO cover across sector around 800,000 in the Philippines alone. And yes, GMO can boost the production, making them lower cost for production and making them affordable. And here in the Philippines, no, nakakaranas sa ating kabataan o Filipinos under 5 and lower, among 1.7 million na nakakaranas ng gutom. At sa pamamagitan ng GMO, katulad ng golden rice, no, which is we can combat for food indeficiency and food stability in the Philippines.
Thank you. Mr. Chan?
To answer this question, I would like to reiterate that genetic modification is still relatively new to our history as a species. If you rush the progress of genetically modified food and to feed the hungry, again, repeating my points, but we do not know what could happen in the future. If they do contract diseases, you will have ruined their perception of progress and will have ruined their bloodline. Thank you.
Let's move forward to the next question. Is it ethical to alter the genes of plants in the world as it raises moral concerns about interfering with nature? Mr. Franco?
It is very unethical. According to the University of Santo Tomas here in the Philippines, it will destroy our ethical issues with regards to our tradition because most of our traditions here in the Philippines is more about the traditional farming. And with regards to the impact to the farmers, it will give them very high costs with regards sa agriculture. Dahil ang agriculture natin hindi na kailangan pang gastusan dahil ito na yon at makakapagbigay buhay sa atin to.
Mr. Ruedas?
Is it ethical to genetically modify creatures and plants? No, it is not. We accept that it is not. However, it is important to note that traditional farming in the country isn't really working for us anymore. Bakit? We have food shortages everywhere. In multiple regions in our country, many people are dying because of hunger. So, what does that mean? Traditional farming isn't sustainable anymore in our country. Therefore, GMOs must be utilized in order to fill that gap.
Next question. Can GMOs help combat climate change by creating more resilient crops? Mr. Franco?
Yes, because as GMO products are created for the main reason of combating climate change and natural disasters, as they are pest resistant, can be drought resistant, and heat resistant as well. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Ferros?
Proponents say GMOs can fight climate change by creating crops that resist drought or heat, but this is a short-term fix. GMOs don't tackle the root causes of climate change. Plus, GMO farming often uses monocultures and chemicals that harm soil, increase emissions, and hurt the environment. Sustainable methods like crop rotations and organic farming are safer and more effective in the long run.
Thank you. And now the final question. Should government impose stricter regulations on GMO? Mr. Chan?
I believe that the government should impose strict restrictions on the sale of the GMOs, but not the research. Because we cannot deny the potential of GMOs as a key part of a sustainable future. Thank you.
Mr. Desire?
GMO is a new type of agricultural practice and it has been for 70 years and wala pa tayong na-report na case na may namatay na dito or mga health risks. Kaya sa akin, government intervention is really at need by lessening the restriction. Dahil ito, unang-una, sabi sa Department of Agriculture that 60% of the Filipino farmers supported the idea of GMO or producing the BD crops. Then second naman, it will have a food stability in the Philippines against malnutrition and hunger. It will have a trade opportunity also na makapagbenta rin tayo sa ibang bansa. Salamat po.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the rebuttal section of our debate. 3 questions will be presented, with each question allocated a duration of 3 minutes. During this time, Both teams will have the opportunity to challenge and question their opposing counterparts. For the first question, do genetically modified crops lead farmers to use more chemicals, or do they help reduce chemical use?
For now, GMOs do lead farmers to use less chemicals. But eventually, nature will adapt. Eventually, nature will be stronger than genetically modified plants, wherein we also have to improve our genetic modification, which will create a loop that is pretty much unbreakable for the rest of time.
How can be sure na that the native plants or yung mga hindi pa na GMO is can resist to any pest resistance or any climate change? Can you answer the question, Mr. Richie?
We all know that native plants, native trees are very known here in the Philippines. Lahat ng bagyo kaya nilang i-resist. For example, ang puno ng acacia ay kayang i-resist yung bagyo. Unlike yung hindi native dito sa atin, which is yung mga mahogany, ay pag dito, katulad ng nangyari sa Bohol, dahil hindi nga siya native dito, ay nasisira. So which means native will help us stronger in the Philippines. And with regards sa agriculture, kaya niya resist yun. Remember 2012 or yung I'm not on specific year, yung bagyong Yolanda, lumubog yung crops, pero nung humupa yung bagyo, nakita nila yung crops ay buo pa rin at na-harvest pa rin nila kahit papano.
Paano mo malaman na ito ay resistant? Hanggang ngayon naman, tuloy pa rin yung ongoing pa rin yung full hunger natin and malnutrition natin dito sa Pilipinas dahil according nga dun sa WHO nga that 5 years and under nga around 1.7 million Filipino families are also experiencing food hunger. How can you respond on that?
We have not come this far we have not come this far because we have let people live. We have come this far by the toll of 1 million deaths. We make progress because of people dying. We make progress because we use their deaths to learn more about nature, about our environment.
So you are saying that you are okay with sacrificing around maybe half, 25% of our population, future population, just so mapatunayan ninyo na GMOs doesn't really help us solve our food crisis when it does in fact help us solve our food crisis. So you're saying to sacrifice millions of people just for the sake of future development when we are already facing a massive crisis in our country. So where is your ethics there, Mr. Chan?
With regards to what you are saying, Mr. Ruedas, the ethical or the statistics is only telling in the slums.
Now for the next question. Does genetic modification of animals compromise their welfare for human benefit? Anyone? Affirmative? Negative? Okay.
Now, yes, genetically modified organisms does affect their welfare. However, it is important to note that humans are already affecting the welfare of animals and crops. How? By our excessive usage of natural fur for our clothes. So why is it now a problem when we use this technology or discovery to help us solve our crises, our problems and crisis in our country?
So you're saying just because we already affect them in a negative way, we should affect them in a more negative way just to benefit our own?
I am not saying we should affect them way more negatively than we already have and we already should. However, it is important to note that yes, we are already affecting them negatively and we will affect them way more negatively with our scientific researches and developments. However, we are proposing a way that we should adopt GMOs in a way that will be sustainable and safe for everyone, not just the humans, not just plants, but also the ecosystem, the environments, the animals, every living being on our planet should be accounted for, and our practice should be sustainable in order to be able to help us develop further and more, eventually leading to us solving world hunger.
Eventually leading to us solving world hunger. Okay. I would just like to note that my opponent did in fact say that genetic modification does inflict negative consequences on our nature, which we do need for our survival, which we do need for our future.
In response to that, dahil sa pangangailangan ng food crisis, ako ay naniniwala na mas uunahin pa natin ang ating kalagayan kaysa sa kalagayan ng ating mga animals. And I do believe also that in despite that there is a food crisis, malnutrition, I do believe na we can compromise the animals, since we should be in the food pyramid in the topper level, because we have the opportunity to do so, that we can do that also for our sake of ourselves and for the humanity.
Gusto ko lang sana itanong sa iyo, Mr. Ruedas, anong masasabi mo sa Seralini et al. Noong 2012 na kung saan ang GMO na ipinakain sa hayop na sa agriculture ay nagkaroon ng effect with regard sa animals? Ano ngayon nakakainin mo kung patay ang animals, patay din ang GMO?
It is important to note that I also mentioned that sustainable development of GMOs should be adopted. Hindi lang yung current GMOs natin ngayon. Scientific development should be encouraged in order to provide a way more sustainable and healthier GMO for our country.
Okay. Now we will move on to the final question. Now, for the final question, could we achieve food security and sustainable farming without using GMOs? Or are they a necessary part of modern agriculture?
GMOs are already the modern way of agriculture. Yes, it is risky. Yes, it has its flaws. However, we must accept that moving forward in agriculture, we must adapt to GMOs and to our living situations. It is important to note that development of GMOs is still ongoing in various countries. So it is important to note that this is still a development. However, its development has already produced massive positive effects and results for humanity.
Those positive effects that you speak of do have the chance, do have the potential to become negative effects. They could produce specific allergens, or they could they could produce diseases that will affect our people for as long as they live. Maybe it could even pass to their offspring.
As I have mentioned already earlier multiple times, it is a development. We must still continue its development. It is a cycle. It is a journey. Now, no end product is perfect. Walang ganon. Everything has its flaws. It's important to note that everything has its flaws, and in order to solve that flaw, we must always keep on researching and developing and studying the product in order to make it better, to make it sustainable, and to make it more healthier and acceptable to humanity.
Yes, well, I do in fact believe that we should be able to develop, research, and refine genetically modified organisms. That is how we got electricity, by letting people, well, technically sacrificing people, but not really. But anyway, the negative effects that GMOs are could be extremely long term, which it could even spell the end of our species. This isn't electricity, how it's like. It's obvious how it's obvious that we can channel it into something that is useful for the rest of for the rest of time, but GMO specifically could entail death for our species.
um you're not stating the specific points, the specific negative points, and you're only stating theoretical statements, while you have no basis of them being true. So I don't see where your stand on this for the future. it is not relevant for me.
And also add, as of now, we have the support with the government, the Department of Agriculture, to commercialize the golden rice. So it is a new type of agriculture, but this is the sustainable future.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now let's move on to closing statement. Each team will have 1 minute to discuss the key points for their stand. Affirmative side, you may begin.
Before we start our closing statement, we would like to thank our opponents for having this discussion with us and being able to provide us with insights and comments regarding our proposal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to note that we must prioritize ourselves now in order to progress into the future. So, why hesitate in adopting GMOs in our agriculture when it could in fact save our country, our people, in order to make us more sustainable, also in order to make us live further down the road and actually make a future for our own country.
Next.
I would also like to take the time to thank our opponents for giving us valid arguments and good discussion. Thank you. So the 4 points that my team has is genetic modification needs more time to develop. Second, it is currently deemed to be undignified and immoral, as it could be seen as an affront to God. Number 3 is that it could be good for the future. GMOs could be a key part of our future, but as it is right now, it is not developed enough to be that key. And last, and our main point is that rushing progress rarely ever begets results in good results. Thank you.
Two opposing teams offer a valuable opportunity to explore the pros and cons of using GMO products, and both have proven a point. The teams argue that it can increase crop yields, enhance nutritional value, and develop resistance to pests and diseases, thus paving the way for more efficient and sustainable farming, especially in areas where food shortages and environmental challenges hit the hardest. However, it also raises concerns about the potential ecological and health impacts of GM crops. This includes the risk of unintended consequences, such as the development of herbicide-resistant superweeds or the emergence of new allergens. Additionally, there are ethical considerations regarding the long-term effects of genetic modification on biodiversity and the global health systems. This is a complex issue with no easy answers, but today's discussion has highlighted the importance of continuing to research, to debate, and consider all perspectives. It is now up to the judges, audience, to weigh the arguments carefully and decide which position holds the greatest merit based on the evidence and reasonings provided. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.